Well, I don't have anybody with me, but welcome to
Don't
the.
start the show
Oh,
yet,
here she
Sonny.
comes.
I'm on my way.
She's coming.
Give me a minute. Oh, boy. Oh, that's a long walk, Sonny, but I made it.
Long walk. Where were you?
Well, I feel like I was downtown walking over here to the show.
You definitely weren't just 10 feet from the desk, were you? You were further than
Well,
that.
let's not get tied up in the
Well,
details, Sonny.
certainly, we don't want to get tied up in the details of that because
No.
I think we have some details to talk about this evening.
Well,
So,
before we get started, Sonny,
mhm.
I wore my Easter dress and my Easter bonnet today.
You know it was already Easter, though?
I know, but I was so happy to have a new dress that I
Hey,
wanted to share it with our viewers.
looks good. Can't
Yeah,
deny that.
yeah. And my COVID gloves, I've got those.
Your COVID gloves?
Yeah, I can take them off now.
Have you had those on for the past 3.5 years or so?
No, I just keep them on the side in case I need them.
Very neat. All right. You ready to start, Grandma? Or?
I think so. I was looking. Oh, there it is. It's my heart hanky because I love everybody.
Oh, of course you do. Yeah, the heart hanky.
Yeah.
Gonna have to put that hashtag in the tags of this video, I think. Heart hanky.
Yes, that's my heart hanky.
It's lovely. Well, so everybody, welcome to the Greg and Leisa show, or this week, the Greg and Grandma show. I am Greg.
And I'm Grandma.
And what's our topic today, Grandma?
We're going to talk today about a lot of senior stuff, like Social Security, like Medicare, Advantage plans, identity theft, and just a whole bunch of senior stuff that we deal with.
Okay, yeah, so you don't mean seniors in high school or seniors in college.
I mean seniors like me.
Okay, seniors like you.
Yes, I'm a senior.
Yep.
And I've had to deal with some of this stuff.
There's some...
And I'm not happy about it. And I'm sure lots of seniors aren't happy about it.
Yeah, it's stuff that really should be easier to deal with, and it's like this stuff kind of when you get to be that senior age, it's like they made it more complicated as we get older. And that's not the way it should go.
No, it should be easier.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not, Sonny. And you know what they're going to do?
What are they going to do, Grandma?
They're going to make people like you take care of us.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be nothing left to take care of us. So it's a good thing you're sharp on your toes.
Yeah. I mean, families are having to plan around that. The funds of Social Security, I'm sure we're going to get into it more, but it's not always a pretty picture.
It is not. It is not. But Social Security is a big question. Because the question is, when should you take Social Security? Should you take it at 62 when you can? Should you wait till your full retirement age? Because you need more money?
Are you Scottish today, Grandma? I thought I heard a little...
I'm a little bit of Heinz 57. I'm a little bit of everything.
Okay.
That's what I say.
So yeah, when to take Social Security? Right at 62? Actual retirement? Well, what do you think, Grandma?
Well, I think the longer it goes, they're going to raise the Social Security retirement age pretty soon. It's going to be 85 instead of 66 and 8 months or 67. They're just going to keep making it longer and longer.
And there are plenty of people who are still, able to work at 85 and are in good shape, but that's really not that many.
They shouldn't have to.
They shouldn't have to.
Just to make ends meet, Sonny.
Right.
They should work if they want to work, because it is fun to work.
Yeah. And that's, wow, 85, that
will be terrible. That'll be yours. They have to be 85, Sonny, before you can retire, if they keep going the way they are.
Well, as far as Social Security goes anyway, so thankfully, for young folk like me, turning 40 this year, but young folk like me, I've still got time to set some things in motion.
Yes, you do. But you need to do your calculations.
Mm-hmm.
When do you need the money? Do you need it at 62? Do you need it at 64? Do you need it at 65? Because, Social Security says if you wait till your full retirement age, then you'll have such a bigger check. But what they don't always tell you is sometimes it takes 11 years after you start taking that big check to break even.
Cool.
Because if I would have started at 62, if I would start at 66 in 8 months, it takes 11 years to recoup that money that I would have gotten had I started at 62.
That's crazy.
It is. Now, they're banking on you don't live that 11 years, so they don't pay you so much money.
Right.
You know?
And, for your out there specific situation, no one's saying it's wrong to wait, but you got to do your own numbers.
Right, you do. And you need to also look at the Social Security website. And if you don't want to go on the website, because they push us old people to get on the internet, and we shouldn't have to be pushed to get on the internet. But if you need some information, you call them and you ask them, and you can ask them for large print, and they will send it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That stuff is available.
Don't be afraid to pick up the phone.
Yeah. Paper is still a wonderful thing.
It is. It's good to have that paper in hand. Because I know there's been computer glitches and things have been erased, and then you have no proof either.
Mm-hmm.
So do your homework when you're deciding whether to take your Social Security.
Absolutely.
And AARP is a good program, and it's full of lots of information.
So AARP, we see. I think most people are kind of familiar with what that is. A lot of commercials for it. I think before he passed, we've seen Alex Trebek talk about it. We've seen all sorts of people.
Because it is good. That. Oh, I forgot to mention, Sonny. I got my Easter bonnet on too.
I saw that. Yeah. Ooh, spiffy.
Yeah.
Very, very spiffy.
I better put my glasses on so I can see better. Now, don't forget, I don't wear bifocals because I don't want to look old.
No, certainly. We would not want that.
No. And Medicare. Everybody has questions about Medicare. Should they do Medicare Advantage plan? Should they do Medicare? Should they do supplemental plans? There's things they tell you, and then there's things that they don't tell you. They make it sound like it's easy if you have a Medicare Advantage plan and you want to change. Well, I tried to get one of my friends to change so it would better suit her, and they wouldn't accept her on the other Advantage plan.
Because subject to, among other things, open enrollment periods, right?
Open enrollment, and it was an open enrollment.
Oh, it was?
Yes, it was. And they wouldn't take her because she was on physical therapy.
Oh.
Yeah, so they don't tell you that the Advantage plans
and
are the
that
programs.
To me is silly, because I would have to think, out of all senior citizens, I would think it's a pretty good percent on some sort of physical therapy, right?
Well, you would think there would be something.
I don't know if it's a majority, but it's a good chunk of people, I would think.
Well, I don't know what the percentage is on that, but I will tell you, make sure if you are going to change, that you change first and make sure you're accepted. Because if you don't check first and you're not accepted, and the enrollment period expires, then you have no Advantage plan. And when you're deciding whether to take an Advantage plan or whether to get a supplemental plan, you need to look at how often you go to the doctor.
Sure.
Because your Advantage plans typically will have you pay a copay because you're not paying a monthly premium. But if you're going to the doctor 10 times a month for this, that, and the other, you should have got a supplemental policy.
Yeah, and when you consider copays, you're $25, $50, maybe even up to $100. That adds up.
It does add up, and you have to look at it. You have to run your own numbers because you are the one that's going to be affected.
Absolutely.
When you've got a good insurance person to talk to, they should look out what's in your best interest.
Yep.
But the thing that they don't always count on is you might be in good health when you take it out, but you're not 3 months later.
Of course.
And then you're stuck paying all of those copays.
Yeah, you have to consider it.
Right. And you need to read that Medicare new book that comes out every year. Because there's always changes, and it tells you what they cover. And you need to read your Advantage plan policies and the supplemental policies.
Right, because if you don't understand what's in your base plan, you may get a supplemental plan you don't need.
That's right.
Or you might, forget to get one that you do need for a certain.
Right.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is it used to be, Sonny, that when you had Medicare and you had your supplemental plans, everything was covered. Not today. Today you have to sign all those financial responsibility plans that say if Medicare doesn't cover it and your supplemental plan doesn't cover it or your Advantage plan doesn't cover it, you have to cover it.
So you pay for these plans and then it doesn't cover the stuff and then you have to pay more. It's
Yes.
We talked when Lisa and I were talking about insurance. It's a wicked game, Grandma.
It is. It's terrible. It's just terrible. And let's talk a little bit about doctors.
Before we do that, Grandma, we mentioned AARP earlier. We didn't really talk about what that is. And I know most people are familiar with it, but could you maybe explain a little bit about what exactly AARP is?
AARP is an association, a company that looks out for the best interest of seniors. And they give out, when you become a member, and you can be for 1 year, and it's very inexpensive, anywhere between, I think, $12 to $14 for a year.
Oh, wow.
And you get a bulletin that has updated information on it. They have all kinds of programs, job availabilities, and they teach you how to do stuff. They have websites galore. They have fraud alerts. They have all kinds of good information for us seniors.
Very good. Yeah, and some good discounts on things too, correct?
They do. If you pay attention and that's where you shop, they are good.
Yep.
So for that, $12 or $14 a year, whatever it is right now, it's a good bonus.
All right. Yep. Thank you for that. I just want to make sure we touched on that before we get into the rest of it. So you want to talk a bit? What is next? Doctors, medical care appointments, Grandma. Have you been to any of this lately?
I sure have, and I don't like them. You know what I don't like? I don't like the fact that when you are a senior, you think your social calendar has to be doctors. Because you go to so many doctor appointments and follow-up appointments that all you're doing is going to doctors.
Right.
And why do you think that is? It's because they can get more money out of you.
Yeah, that's very true, and it's not really good for somebody's mental health. Mental health, I think, it's important your whole life, but as you're getting older, you're pondering different things, and if all you're ever doing is going to appointments, you're not having a chance to live and reflect on the life you've had. And
no, because all the doctors say you need this and you need that and you need this and you need that. Well, what happened before you went to the doctor, or before you got Medicare, or before you got insurance? What did you do? You treated yourself. And nobody knows your body better than you.
Very true.
And why do they have to keep referring you here and referring you there?
Right. There are a ton of different kinds of doctors. And I think there are, if you're sick, go to a doctor if you need to. But like you said, there's so many specialists and you're getting bounced around. And, I've heard of people, you're going to 5 or 6 visits before anything actually happens.
I know, and you know what it is? Because we say okay.
Yeah.
We say okay, I'll go, instead of saying I'll pray about it, I'll think about it. Because you have to, you are in charge of your body.
That's
and
correct.
You are in charge of your health. And I always pray, God, don't make me stupid. If I need to go, you let me know I need to go. But I don't need everything they tell me I need. I've lived this long without it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened too. I think, as time goes on, for the most part, people have lived longer. But I think the last big jump was probably, like either smallpox being gone or when we got the flu under control. there hasn't been a big major thing, and I don't think are all these tiny little medications and all these bouncing around visits causing people to live that much longer. And I don't think it is.
I don't either. And I think, what happened to the day when you had one doctor and he did it all?
Yeah,
He gave you all the answers that you needed, and if it was totally out of his realm of experience or expertise, then he would refer you somewhere you needed to go.
and that, if you did get that referral, you were pretty darn confident that that person was gonna.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
Yes, you were. So, we don't need to always fill our calendars with doctor appointments. They have phone numbers out there for people to call and talk to if they want somebody to talk to.
Right. 24-hour nurses lines. Yeah. A lot of the, yeah.
But not only that, if you're lonely and you want somebody to talk to, you don't have to go to a doctor and talk to somebody.
Well, no, certainly not. Or the
doctor's nurse or practitioner. You can call the number. I think even ARP has a number that you can call.
Oh yeah, I think there's a few different versions of that. Yeah.
So we don't have to have our social calendar involved with the medical people.
Right. That being said, Grandma, we're not doctors, so we're certainly not telling anybody to skip the doctor. We're just, you know yourself, you know your body, so.
And use your own good common sense.
Right. It's up to your own judgment. So
yes.
You've got one guy and one grandma here sharing a few opinions, but we are not here to give official medical or legal advice.
That's right. But if seniors don't start standing up, it's like everything else. They're going to run over us.
Well, yes, yeah, you do.
Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible. Identity theft. All the scammers out trying to take advantage of our seniors.
We go from the kind of insurance scam into people actually consciously trying to scam you.
Taking advantage of us seniors. Can you believe it?
No, it's terrible. It's terrible because, we're still, we haven't had enough time pass where the current senior citizens have had, technology experience that. So it's a dangerous world out there.
It is.
And people aren't dumb, but if you've never been exposed to something, if you didn't grow up with something, of course you're not as familiar with how all that stuff works. How could you be?
But senior citizens are smart folks.
Absolutely.
And what they need to do is learn a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
And one is hang up the phone.
Yeah.
If you don't recognize the phone number, don't answer it.
Right. And if it's, I always would say, if it's that important, they'll call back, and then you don't answer that second time. If they need it, there'll be a message with something legitimate.
That's right. Yep. If they're going to leave me a message and they want something, they should leave me a message. Yeah. And if they don't, then you did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always have to worry about telephone etiquette anymore and being polite.
No.
Because that's kind of going out the window. You used to hate to hang up on anybody because it was rude.
Right. Well, there weren't as many crazy phone scams going on.
Because we didn't have all these cell phones.
I know. And, I grew up to see the. I mean, obviously you would have seen the rise of it too, but I was right there on the ground floor of cell phones really coming into prominence. Yeah. They were certainly around, but yeah, I saw that rise. And I remember at home on the old home phone getting parents answering one or two, telemarketers a week, maybe something like that. And
mostly it was a wrong number.
Right. And now, I mean, that's practically all. I don't get many actual phone calls.
No, because they're all robo-scams.
Right.
It's pretty sad. But you have to understand, if you do have a cell phone, put your important people in your cell phone with their name on it, so when they are calling, their name will appear.
And it shows, and you know who that is.
And you know who to answer it. But now, you have to look at the phone number, because now these scammers can put in your name on their phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And that's wrong too.
Yeah, and that is illegal, but it's a pretty hard thing to catch. And
that's why you have to pay attention.
Absolutely.
You have to pay attention to the phone number. And as seniors, we're pretty feisty. I file reports with the Federal Trade Commission when I get scam phone calls. I file reports with the Attorney General.
Yeah.
I file reports with anybody I can.
Well, yeah, and for
The
those of
Better
you,
Business Bureau.
for those of you out there who think that sounds extreme, it's within anybody's right to do, and that's what those agencies are there for.
Yes, and if you just delete it, they keep getting away with it because their number's not registered.
It is part of those agencies' jobs.
It is to shut them down.
Yes.
We got to shut them down.
Absolutely.
You know? It's terrible. And you know, they just keep getting worse. So if they're going to call you and tell you your loved one's in trouble, hang up. Because the people you know will let you know your loved one's in trouble. I was going to say,
those type of phone calls really should come from somebody that you know.
Yes. Yeah. So don't believe them.
I mean, with the, occasionally maybe an officer of the law, police, or fireman calls, but those situations should be few and far between. And, if somebody from, an actual agency like that needs to get in touch with you, they're going to probably come over to your house. They're probably going to knock on your door. They're going to drive a cruiser over. They're going to drive the truck over. You'll be able to ask for a badge number and to see the thing and, all that, right. All that stuff.
And all you need to do is learn a line to say that you have memorized. When somebody calls you and if you answer it, all you're going to say is, let me call the police and I'll call you back. And then you hang up. Because if you tell them that, they're probably not going to call you back.
Yeah, yep. And it's, it's not worth the risk to them.
No. Or you say, I'm going to file a report with the Federal Trade Commission if you call me again. And first of all, make sure your phone number is on the do not call list.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your phone number's on the do not call list and they're calling you to sell you something, they could be fined.
Absolutely. And you should report those things.
You should report them. So as seniors, we have to stand up and stop letting them take advantage of us.
Yeah.
Because it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also, you know what else is terrible, Sonny?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
It's these businesses that are forcing the seniors to go onto the internet and to do things they don't want to do.
Sure.
One of my friends got a notice from her credit card company, and if she doesn't sign up for automated billing, they're going to charge her $1.99 a month to send her a bill. Now, are they going to give her a credit on her account if she signs up for automated billing? Because she now has to pay the expense of the paper and she has to pay the expense of the ink in order to have a copy for her files. Isn't that a travesty?
It is. And, these credit card...
These companies.
These credit card companies are making plenty of money, too, That shouldn't be paying for paper. I can understand... companies giving you the option if you don't want to get the paper to say, no, don't give me the paper. But to try to force it like that is terrible.
It is terrible. And that's just like the grocery stores. They try to make you do self-checkout. Well, I don't want to self-checkout. That's my social time is to talk to the cashier. But they don't cut me a break on my groceries for bagging it myself. Yeah. They don't cut me a break on my groceries for ringing myself out.
No, they certainly do not.
Mm-hmm. So if they want me to work there, then hire me.
In a lot of...
It's really terrible. Yeah. There is one Walmart locally that just took out all of their self-checkouts because they finally listened to their customers and they finally listened to their employees.
You're hearing a lot of these stories, and I've heard the Target corporation is starting to remove that too because, they've realized when you have self-checkout, people are not scanning everything and walking out the door.
And then they wonder why more things are missing. They did it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have people checking them out.
Yeah. I think the nice balance with self-checkouts was when there was maybe one in the store and, the 5 or less item kind of
if somebody wants to do it, they should if they only have one item.
But for that to be the only option in the store is not right.
It's terrible. Yep. And if you go to the store late, that's your only option.
Yeah, because the staff is just not there to...
But they got people there stocking. They got people there in the office. They got people there that could certainly ring a register.
You would think that, even if those people couldn't, you would think they would could find a way to have a cashier in there.
That's right. And with the price of groceries going up and up and up, I would think they would want to take care of us better.
Grocery, yeah, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. What are we going to do, Sonny? We're going to put a garden in your backyard this year so we have some vegetables like we talked about in our seed planting?
Not a bad idea. Well, you weren't there. Were you talking about seed planting, Grandma?
No, but I watched the show.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was wondering about your memory there, Grandma.
I try to pay attention. Yeah. I try to watch.
No, you're right though. I mean that's one option, but a lot of stuff being forced on us, especially as we get older.
It's hard.
It's it's almost like their seniors are very smart, and you can certainly learn things and figure things out, but we need to take care of our family too, right? We need to be looking out for each other. Anybody's intelligence does not erase the need to have people looking out for one another.
That's right. And as we do get older, sometimes we do have trouble with our memories, and sometimes we need that person that's going to oversee things and look out for us.
And that's very important to remember. Intelligence and memory are two completely separate things.
That's right.
Yeah, one does not mean the other. If you start to lose some memory, and that doesn't mean you're not intelligent anymore. So that's
no.
Yeah, but it is.
But it might mean I forgot to pay a bill.
Well, it certainly could. But and the sad thing is, why we need to look out for each other is often. People don't want to ask for help. We've touched on this before, and I'm going off sheet, Grandma. But
that's okay. That's okay.
I think it fits in with taking care of each other.
Preach it, brother. Preach it, brother.
It fits in with taking care of each other. We have to look out, and if you see somebody who you think needs help and they're not asking for it, and that is somebody you know and care about, you got to do it.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to volunteer, or you'll just have to show up, or sometimes you just send something in the mail, just giving them an uplift.
Yep.
There's all kinds of things that you
certainly
can do.
With an older relative and stuff like this. So Grandma, you're certainly very capable, but there may be a situation where you just have to step in and do the thing for somebody.
That's right, Sonny. Well, on the topic of family taking care of family, Sonny.
Mm-hmm.
We have some Bible verses.
Yeah. Did you find these? Or?
I did.
See, Grandma, you're handy like Lisa is with that Bible, Grandma.
I've been listening and learning. There's a website out there. It's called Listen and Learn with Lisa. She has so much stuff on that website. You can learn.
There is a ton of stuff. She really does have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things.
What's that old saying?
I don't know which old saying. I know a lot of old sayings, Grandma. Which one are
you?
The
one about jack of all trades and master of none.
Oh yeah. Well, no, she's certainly a master at some of this stuff, But you're right though. Where she is not a master, you do the research, you find out enough, and that's where you have to know what your limit, on expertise is and who you can go to.
That's right, Sonny. That's why we tell you. We're not attorneys.
No, we're not doctors. No.
We're not psychiatrists. We're not any professional people. We are everyday people dealing with everyday situations.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to share what we've learned during our journey.
Yes.
Yeah. Life.
And that's important because, often, people just don't even know where to look for some stuff. And, just with our show here, we're just hoping we can, sprinkle some tips in there and kind of get that ball of research going, give you a good idea.
That's right.
So Bible verses here. I'll start us off, Grandma. So in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8, it says, "But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." That's heavy.
It is heavy, Sonny. It's what God had in plan for us, that we take care of our family. And back in the day, families always took care of family.
Yeah.
Where they, lived with each other. In certain countries, they live with each other all under one roof.
Well, in a lot of, older tribal cultures and tribal cultures that are still around today in lesser developed parts of the world. The elders, they're the revered of society, and just because that part of the culture is different, that they face some of the same mental and physical challenges anybody else does when they get older. So
they do.
The difference is just kind of how everybody else looks at it.
That's right, Sonny. 1 Timothy 5:4. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, let them first learn to show their godliness to their household and make some return to their parents, for this is pleasing in the sight of God, which is take care of your own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So next one here, we have Romans chapter 12, verse 18. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. This includes those representatives you're waiting on the phone for an hour to speak with. So, so often, the insurance is a game, the government agencies are all kind of a game, but at the end of the day, you end up calling in or writing into somebody, and oftentimes the person you end up with is not the politician or CEO or executive who has really any control of the situation. You often end up talking to somebody who's trying to do their job, and it could be a crappy job with crappy instructions and things they have to do, and
they do have a job to do.
Yeah.
But if you're going to call Social Security or some of those government agencies, make yourself a lunch first. Because I stayed on the phone one time for almost 2 hours waiting to talk to somebody in the Social Security office.
Right.
So get yourself something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Put your phone on speaker so you can listen to it.
Sure.
Watch your TV show, read a book, and just keep it close to you till you get to talk to somebody.
That's really an excellent tip, Grandma. I never really thought of that, but it makes a lot of sense.
And the other thing, Sonny, is when you're reading, and you're reading your Medicare information, and you're reading your Social Security information, and you're reading everything on your medical information, make sure you read it. Because, I called Social Security once. I got 2 different answers on my question.
Yeah, and that happens, and it's terrible, but it's not always because there's a bad person. Sometimes there's a miscommunication. Maybe one time you talk to a newer person, or there's a lot of different reasons.
Or training issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's not,
But it's pretty disappointing to wait 2 hours and be told something that's not true.
It is.
And that's why you need to read your information, read your policies, read your Medicare and U-books, and read your ARP information if you are a member.
And, stand up for yourself, but, don't be unnecessarily mean to the person you do finally get. But, what you just said kind of made me think, do your research, read your stuff, because I think often in these situations, it's better if you've read the thing and you have an idea of what's going on and you're saying, hey, does this mean that? And do I have this? Versus, asking somebody just on the phone, working for one of these places, just explain the thing to you.
Right. But the other thing, too, because sometimes these things are really hard for people to understand.
Absolutely.
So you can have an appointed representative who can talk for you.
Oh, yeah.
And all you have to do is fill out the right form. So if you ask Social Security for the form, and you can appoint somebody who can call in and talk on your behalf. And the same with Medicare and some of the other agencies.
Right. And what we're talking about here, this does not have to be a lawyer. This can be a younger relative. It can be a friend you trust. It can be anybody you want it to be. It should be somebody you trust.
Right.
Who is
somebody
close to you.
You trust that can handle your situation.
It does not have to be a particular type of individual in a particular type of profession.
That's correct. That is correct. Now, 1 John 3:17-18. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth.
Right. Yeah, and that's not to say words of encouragement aren't good, but your words should spring from your deeds and your truth. You shouldn't just be out there talking and not doing anything.
Isn't that kind of put your money where your mouth is?
Well, yeah. It's you can't out there talk about how great it is. Oh yeah, call me if you need me. Oh yeah, all this different stuff, and
That's
then
right, Sonny.
and then when somebody actually does call you, because often people say that, and they're certain people are just making an empty promise, and then somebody actually calls them and they do nothing.
Yeah. Or just like when they ask you how you are, and everybody says fine, because they don't really want to hear. They don't think that everybody really wants to hear.
And I think that's one where obviously
call that number when you need to talk to them.
Well, yeah, I think you talked about senior citizens needing to stand up, but I think that one, the "how you doing, fine," I think that's going to take a concerted effort from a group of people to just decide to tell people how they actually are when they ask that.
That's true. That's true.
That's one lots of people can chip in on, but here we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about seniors this week.
Someday, Sonny, you're going to be a senior.
Yeah, well, I'm already at that stage of life where I wake up and something hurts, and I'm not sure if I've injured myself or that's just how it is.
You know.
All right, so one more Bible verse here. So Philippians chapter 4, verse 19. And my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus.
Praise the Lord.
Yep.
God's always met my needs over all these years, Sonny, and he's never failed me yet.
Yeah. So when somebody calls you, and maybe you're the person on the other end asking for help, and you're thinking, there's no way I can do that. Well, that person had faith enough to call you, so maybe you have faith enough, and maybe you're not the entire picture, but somebody's calling you for a reason, so there's no doubt something.
That's true. That's true.
And we don't all have to be fixers. Maybe just some words of encouragement. Maybe somebody else they could call, but not just do what you can. And I think most people can accept the fact that not everybody can do everything for them.
That's right.
But
usually God will lay somebody on your heart.
Yes, we can often
just like my heart, Hanky. He'll lay somebody on your heart.
And remember, we're using God's riches and His glory and in His power. We're not really doing anything on our own. So often we can do more than we end up doing. That's kind of the point I was trying to make there.
And Sonny, I've heard on your show before you talk about church families and how when you've encouraged people to find a Bible-based church, and you encourage people to read the Word, and a church family is so important.
Right.
So the question is, do you have a church family? And if you don't have a church family, then you need to get one.
Yeah, because oftentimes, small churches may not have as many. Larger churches may even have a whole department dedicated to care and families and helping with these types of issues. But even if you're in a little church, and you have a caring pastor or priest or reverend or whatever it might be, that there is a way to get help through that.
And the good thing about church families is you usually don't even have to ask because they know.
Right, but you do have to be a part of that family, right?
You do.
You have to go obviously to the the services,
yes.
But the different social events that happen, different Bible studies that happen.
You become a part of the family.
You don't, because people often just know, but you have to talk with somebody about these things. You can't expect people to know what you're not, telling them. Some things you can tell, but they're just
always talk to the person,
right? And there are just some things you have to speak to really have folks understand what you're going through and what you need.
Right, that's true. That's true. But I know there's a church family that's been ministering to one of our family members. And it's so good to see the family of God showing God's love.
Right.
And if you're not a member of a church family, you don't get to experience that. And you don't get the love of a church family.
There are a lot of things. So I want to make sure when we say member of a church family, we don't necessarily mean an official member of the church. We're not saying we obviously tithing is important. It's not a requirement. We just mean you need to be around that biblical community and talking with people and going to church, right? We don't mean anything official or formal when we say a
Well, you
member
have
of
to
a
have
church
that
family.
relationship
Yeah,
with Jesus
it's
Christ
it's
too,
real.
you
It's
know.
relational, right? The
Yes, it is.
relationships are the important thing we're talking
Right.
about, not any uh,
Because you
I's that may
still,
dotted or T's that may be
right.
crossed. That's not the point.
That's
With
right.
that,
A lot of times you just start building
right?
relationships as you go to church, when you start saying hi when you go in.
Yeah,
Or you sit with somebody. Or you join a small group.
yeah,
You
and
know?
those things sometimes take a little bit of time. Because you do have to engage it, right? Because if you walk into a church and you sit down and often people will come up to you, but you can't always wait for somebody to come up and say hi. Right? Like
Right. That's right,
people,
Sonny.
people, for right or wrong, people feel more comfortable approaching somebody they know.
Right, that's true.
So somebody has to make the first step. So
Right.
yeah, there's lots of sides to this. Nobody does it perfectly, but you do have to get in there and engage something to be a
You have
part
to
of
get
that.
involved.
Yeah.
You know, you have to get involved. And there are online small groups and there are online things that you can do
Right.
too.
So if you are
Yes.
somebody who is, comfortable with the internet, there are tons of options.
That's right.
And, by the time my generation gets there, we'll be probably one of the first generations to get there that has been comfortable with that stuff the whole way through. So
That's true, Sonny. Well, Sonny, do you have any pet peeves?
pet peeves.
Yeah,
Just anything about this topic, Grandma, or just any pet
just
peeves?
anything. What's a pet peeve you have, Sonny?
Um, Probably, you know, when you go to, I'm not going to call it any fast food restaurant in particular, mostly because I don't want to ruin any possible future sponsorship deals for the show. But you go through there and you order. I get when maybe something's wrong on a big order, but if all I say is I would like a Diet Coke and what I get is not a Diet Coke,
That's frustrating.
yeah, that's a little
Yeah,
bit of a pet peeve. Do you have any, Grandma? I feel like you must have something.
I do. My pet peeve is everybody in a hurry to go nowhere.
You're
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
they pull out in front of you to go right in the next street.
Or you see the lights turning red, somebody pulled in front of you anyway. I'm like, you're not saving any time.
No. Or they pass you and they get to the light 5 seconds ahead of you. You know, we're
Doesn't
all in a
accomplish a
hurry to
lot.
go
Yeah.
nowhere. And we need to slow down.
Yeah, that's
You
important
know, we
advice.
need
Yeah.
to slow down.
And as it pertains to this topic, slow down. Don't let people make you feel rushed. Do your research. Do
That's right.
your reading. Certain things are urgent, and you will know those when you see them. You don't need to have anybody explain to you that something's urgent. If it's truly that important to you, you will know.
You know.
I don't want to say nothing needs to be dealt with immediately, but very often things people tell us are urgent are just not as urgent as people want to make us feel.
That's true. You know, the emergency crew that came to the family to take them to a different hospital
Mm-hmm.
said somebody called them just for a headache or a sore throat. No, we all know that's not serious business. And that takes resources
Well,
away from people
yeah,
who do
yeah,
need
it certainly. I mean, a
things.
sore throat
Right.
could turn into something. The headache could turn into something, but
Yes.
that's often not a call the ambulance. That's
Right.
you can make your doctor's.
That's right.
You got to know the right way to deal
You
with
have
things.
to use your common sense. And like I said, if you want to talk to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
call somebody.
Yeah, but yeah, and just reminds me of a thing we recently talked about at work. So, but it pertains to a lot of other things. I think um, things can be important, things can be urgent. They don't necessarily have to be urgent and important at the same time.
That's true.
So that can also, that philosophy can help, maybe assess how we deal with certain things and prioritize and, help us stop going so fast to go nowhere.
That's true. That's true. That's good advice.
It's just a little simple thing, obviously situations are more complex than that, but
Right. That's right.
what's urgent isn't always important and what's important isn't always urgent.
That's right. That's right. Well, Sonny, I appreciate you letting me come
Well,
back
yeah,
on
Grandma,
your show today.
it's always a good time to have you. I'm sure will we see you again?
Oh, probably.
Great.
When I want to stick my nose in again, I'll call you.
No, excellent. Yeah, and I definitely appreciate you, for this topic because I know a little bit from talking to my parents and seeing different things. But I haven't lived it, Grandma. I haven't lived it yet, so
I know
that lived it experience is extremely important.
it is, and we go through this together as seniors, and we just need to keep going and keep moving forward.
Right.
And with God, all things are possible.
Certainly.
So, well, until next time.
Yeah.
Sonny?
I think I'll have Leisa back next week, but I will be here and I'm sure we'll have another topic and I'm like we will see Grandma again. But for now, this has been this week's episode of the Greg and Leisa show, and I and Leisa next week will see you then.
Bye.
Bye.